You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. I'm glad to be here with you today. Glad that you're here with us. We got a great show planned for you, as usual. There's lots of local news to talk about. There's other news to talk about. There's, this is where we have a conversation on local news and issues abroad as well. So today will be a great show. We're live on CKLU 96.7 FM. We're also streaming at cklu.ca, in audio, and you can just click on the Radio Player Canada app and you listen to us live, or download the same Radio Player Canada app. Take us with you and listen to us anytime, anywhere on your favorite device. You can also catch us live, so far, so good, on Facebook.com/Sudbury News and YouTube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to comment on the show, as that's what this is been originally made for, is to facilitate a conversation with everyone in a format that's, I don't know, it's not completely unique, but there's not a heck of a lot of people just having conversations in their communities. There's news, there's people telling you what's going on, and there's, and even that's getting, that's getting harder to do. But having a conversation, like allowing people to comment, more than, 2 or 3 people on a panel. So everybody watching is able to share how they feel, and myself as the moderator of the conversation or facilitator of the conversation is basically trying to have a discussion and get as much of people's views out there like a conversation would be. If everyone was in a group around, sitting around a table or whatever at a coffee shop, same idea. But at the same time, we want to deliver, the news as well, like what's going on. So it's not an easy thing to do, is to get everybody's comments in while delivering the content, as well as trying to, educate a little bit on what some of our mainstream news, trying to dig into it a little bit and see maybe why things have been the way they've been in our society through news. And that's been my education kind of thing, and something that I've wanted to dedicate my life to, is the idea of, I guess, deconstructing news and not just taking it for face value. And then behind that is the issues, and then it comes full circle to that's what news really should be in the first place, or that's what everyone expects it to be. And I'm not perfect by any means. I'm very imperfect, but doing my best to do this and make sense of what's going on in our country, our city, and around the world. So with that, a lot of people checking in already. So thanks for being with us, everyone. Good morning, Judy. First as usual. I've noticed that the other day. You're first to the show. So good morning. Thanks for that. And Denise, good morning, everyone. Monique, good morning, Sudbury, with a sunshine emoji, even though it's not too sunny now. We'll get into the weather very shortly. Jerome, good morning, Sudbury. Shane, good morning. Thanks for being with us. Hopefully we'll be able to have you on tomorrow. Just let me know. Send me a message. And all the hidden news, we bring it Okay, so all the hidden news we bring it, entertain it, and then decide. Thank you. Yes, so you got to kind of look at everything. Like you said, entertain it, if you will, like chew on it for a bit, let it percolate a bit, and decide whether or not, you know, what makes sense to you, right? Don't just take things as they're spoon-fed to you. Good morning, Vin. Thanks for joining us. Denise, good morning from Espanola. Helicopters loud this morning by the trailer park. Oh, interesting. I wonder what was going on there. David, stay safe. Appreciate you being here and hope you're on a quick recovery at York Extendicare. 100% of my lunchroom folks regret the jab and now are preparing to stand ... On that note, I was watching an interesting video of a man in the United States who, if you regretted or found out what's in what you received and you no longer want it in your body, there is a kit available apparently that will help with that. I just found that out yesterday. So I will look more into that, and if it's a thing, I'll share it with everyone. And if it's something you're interested in, then you could look into it yourself. So let's just dive in with some weather, and we'll get back with the news headlines of the day and all your comments and much, much more right after this. All right, and weather brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. It lands on our Sudbury.news Facebook page, and that's where you can catch all the latest weather. So we are here. I was just getting the news ready for the day. Hadn't done that yet. So 13 degrees currently, and tonight we can expect showers. But for today, it's cloudy, 40% chance of showers early this morning. A few showers happening in the morning. About 5 to 10 millimeters worth. Local amount, 5 to 10 millimeters. High of 15, UV index will be 3. Tonight, few showers still, ending late this evening, then cloudy, with a 40% chance of showers overnight. Again, 5 to 10 millimeters of rain. A little bit windy, could be gusting to about 60 kilometers. Wednesday, tomorrow, clearing in the morning. Wind will be gusting to about 50. High of 19, UV index 6. And long range, so for the 6 days ahead of us, clearing, high of 19 tomorrow, sunny, high of 24 on Thursday, sunny and 24 also on Friday, 30% chance of showers on Saturday with a high of 26, 29 and sunny on Saturday, and then 30% chance of showers, high of 29 on Monday. And a look at your satellite. Look at the cloud activity going on there. There's just tons over northern Ontario, and all of the precipitation activity, mainly around the North Shore, the bullseye, right, Sault Ste. Marie and around there, and then going to get a little bit of that today for Sudbury. This satellite image was taken at about 5:30 this morning, so 2 hours ago. So that's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with news headlines, local and abroad, and a little bit of our looking into Jordan Peterson, and he's appealing the decision from the Ontario College of Psychologists to mandate him, I guess you can say, to re-educate him on how to speak, specifically online, and looking into an interview that he had a few years back, talking about what led to his organization wanting to moderate his speech and make sure he's not speaking his mind, and no one else is able to do that either. It's on a bigger scale than just his college of psychologists. It's pretty much institutionalized these days, and he's explaining why, piece by piece. We're playing about a 5-minute piece every day on that. But anyways, we'll be back with more news right after this. Okay, thanks for sticking around. We're gonna have a great show. So make sure to stick around for more. So we got talking about two CBDCs. Is that what they're called? Central bank digital currency that's coming your way. It's gonna give you digital currency all the time, everywhere. There's not going to be a transaction you're going to be able to do that's not done through digital currency. It'll be on a global scale, and yeah. So we'll look at what that could be. A little segment from Redacted. Well, something just blew up here with tons of comments, starting with Dave, who came on just before we went to the weather, but hopefully we talk about cancer. Director Development in Northern Ontario. Detector, Dave. Cancer detector developed in Northern Ontario. Hurricanes coming on the East Coast. People fleeing forest fires. And not just another rant about a dude who was fired for what he said. I don't think anyone's been fired for what they said, but yeah. So all of those things are happening around the world, and we do talk about them. Like we definitely don't avoid it. It's in the news. You talk about it, and every day I share what you say, so it gets on the show no matter what, right? So trying to make sense of it all is the thing. Good new name, the Sudbury News Percolator. Good morning. Yes, for sure. That's pretty much like my grade 5 and 7 teacher said. Firstly, you think, just try and stir the pot a bit. Try and get everybody woke up to just thinking about things, and don't just take things for what's, look for things that are being said to you and stuff. And maybe you'll find out why there's so many fires on the earth, or why hurricanes are coming, or why you don't have any money left in your bank account. Things like that, right? I would be one of them. I'm extremely embarrassed. That's Shane. Okay, so yeah, maybe the conversation's moved on already, and I'm back to some older comments. So this may be difficult to start off the news today. Until I get up and see bodies on the ground, it's all fear mongering. Yep. There's lots of that, right? We talked about that on a previous show about the use of fear by media, governments through media to achieve goals. It's part of the agenda, right? It can be used. It has been used. It can still be used, and just be aware of it when it's being used, and try not to be affected by it. It can affect your physical health, your mental health, spiritual, all of that, emotional. You're not holding on. You changed your mind with info. Good for you. Now you're part of the change. Okay, so for sure. Once you see the light and stop vaxing, you become part of the change. We all thank you. Perfect. Again, there's so many comments here. I'm just going to be reading comments here for a while, and I'm at a bit of a disadvantage with my eyesight. First of all, that's my fault. I'm guessing we're going to be talking about the dude who lost his job of cancer director developed in Northern Ontario. Guessing we're going to be talking about the dude who lost his job instead of cancer director or detector developed in Northern Ontario. Now, the cancer detector developed in Northern Ontario, again, I'm not up on that unless it's going to be part of the news that's shared from our local outlets this morning. So I will now look into that now that you've mentioned it, like I usually do. My jobs have saved my life at least 3 times. My jabs. Okay. Cool. Good. That's awesome that you're able to have been saved that way. Okay, so maybe we're getting in. Good morning, Maurice. Thanks for being with us. We're just going to be getting the comments here up on the screen because the conversation's already kind of taking on a life of its own. Talking about the jabs. We'll have more on that later. And all I said was, if you've taken it and you regret it, that there's someone in the United States who has developed something that can reverse engineer what it is that you've looked into and found out that's actually in your body, right? Because you can do that. You can find out what actually was put in. I remember someone who was very an advocate for it, and that's great. And everyone can be, but I just asked him one simple question. I just said, do you know what's in it? And his face just went blank, and he said, no. I said, so you put something in your body, you don't know what it is? He said, yeah. I said, oh, okay. Would you eat something if you didn't know what it was? No. But you put it directly into your bloodstream? But there's the idea of trust. You trust your professionals, right? So, and it is what it is. You hope that the money you pay in your taxes go towards competent people who are doing things, who really love you and care for you and want the best for you and are only benevolent in their duties, in their professions, and they only want the best, right? And we hope that. And we actually go on faith, to use a spiritual term, faith that whatever was in that vial that went into our body was actually good. Like we went on faith. We didn't go on knowledge. It was too quick. There wasn't enough studies out there to actually make an educated decision. There wasn't. It was, there's a monster out there. There's a boogeyman. And we have the, like the Ghostbusters, we have the thing that can trap it, and you need to take it in order to be healthy. You don't need vitamins. You don't need to get exercise. You don't need to eat right. You don't need to lose weight. You just need this liquid, and you'll be healthy. And we now have data afterwards, though we can look at now and be more educated on it. So that's up to us and our health. It's our body, right? It's our body. It's our choice. Despite what some people were saying at the time, that kind of slogan changed real quick, to the point where people were mandated. People were losing their jobs if they used that, their body, their choice. But it is your body, your choice. So, and again, to the people that said they chose to do it, I think that's great. And it really is. And that's the world I want to live in. If you want to choose to do something, if you want to choose to do that, then you should have the right to do it. And you shouldn't be ridiculed for it. And that's that. And so that's that, period, on either side of the debate. If you choose, and it's your choice, and you feel strongly about it, and you feel you've done your education on it, you educated yourself about it, and you made that choice, that's the way things should be. Okay, so I guess I'm at fault for bringing certain things up, or certain comments make me comment, and then the conversation goes off. But that's what this is all about too. So thanks for your comments, everyone. We really appreciate that. As we try and understand a very complex world, which it's becoming more and more and more, let's just dive in today to what I have prepared for us, and we'll go from there. So Dave brought up a question to Mike Parent yesterday, which I thought was really great. when he was on, he asked him, hey, what's going on with this asphalt situation that we've been waiting for so long? So Sudbury.com probably was in the midst of getting this story ready. Great minds think alike, I guess. But look at this. Still no word on asphalt test results from the Kingsway project. Ajax-based road surface recyclings, so they're RSR. Frustrations with the city of Sudbury have been mounting, with no word from the city on whether their work is up to snuff. Last month, the city of Greater Sudbury ordered the company to halt work on a stretch of the Kingsway so a third-party test of the asphalt recycling pilot project the company was laying could be conducted. At the time, City Engineering Services Director David Shelsted told Sudbury.com it would take 3 to 4 weeks to test results to come in and determine the quality of the road service recycling's work. Although the city was not legally mandated by the province to undertake the tests, Shelsted said the city is doing so to ensure we're representing value for money. Frank Krupe, the company's vice president for technology and research, that were distributed to the area the company's vice president for technology and research distributed pamphlets, I think, to residents and stuff explaining things, and took to media interviews to complain about the work stoppage, which he argued was outside the scope of the contract, which he is indeed right. And here you go, Dave. Cancer detector developed in Northern Ontario gets okay for marketing. A successful clinical trial has helped clear the way for a Thunder Bay medical technology company to sell its pioneering positron emission tomography imaging device in the United States. And the Radialis PET imager focuses on tumors in specific organs for initial diagnosis and for follow-up treatment. Radialis Inc., a joint venture of the Thunder Bay Regional Health Research Institute and Lakehead University, got the required approval for marketing the device from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. We've received our clearance now. We've finished our clinical testing at Princess Margaret Hospital in Toronto, and based on the data, we got clearance to sell it in the U.S. So now we're implementing our first American sites, said the CEO. Our first site at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. Interesting. I wonder if they already had approval for that in Canada, or they were just doing testing in Canada for that. Yeah, cancer. That's a whole other conversation for another time, I think. Terrible disease that's affected too many people, and too many people have left us too soon because of it. And again, the more you look into it, the more you understand what it is, and you don't just take what people tell you it is. It's interesting. And yeah. So very controversial there on, it's a huge industry, right? Cancer. So let's say someone came up with a cure for it. It would debase a whole multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry. That would be terrible for the industry. Great for those who have it, but terrible for the industry. And anybody who's making innovations and eradicating it have had some huge stumbling blocks getting out there. But at least we're allowing the ability to detect it, which is great. And they're letting it pass through. And it's a Canadian company. And that's kind of neat in that way, as far as capitalism goes, and the making of money. So Sudbury Food Bank is going to the circus. Fire dancing, stilt walking, gymnastics, live music, and more Those who bought tickets will be treated to this kind of live entertainment, plus a 5-course meal during the first ever Cirque du Sudbury fundraiser for the Sudbury Food Bank. The event is likely already sold out at this point, which is good news for the executive director, and who told Sudbury.com that the food bank has had to get creative when it comes to fundraisers. If an organization wants to make events successful, and that is true, you have to do something unique today. It's got to be a show. People are going to be talking about this event, and the show is exactly what the food bank has planned for its Night at the Circus event, presented by Apollo Restaurants. Cirque du Sudbury will feature a 5-course formal dinner, wine on the table, and a Cirque du Soleil style show featuring the dynamic room, Siren the fire dancer, stilt walker Kayla Key, Gym Zone Gymnastics and Athletics, Earth Dancers Dance Troupe, Sudbury Performance Group, Spotlight Dance Company, Charm Plus, Alessandro Constantini, Connected Living Yoga, and Wellness with Don Condon. And makeup by Krista Marabelli. So there are a lot of people involved there helping out the Sudbury Food Bank. So I guess I'm going to say get out. I was going to say get out and support it, but it's already sold out. I mean, maybe we make a donation in lieu of the event. You know, it's always a great thing to to support local charities that do a lot of good for our community, obviously. Little appetite on City Council to add public washrooms downtown. Lacking plans for barrier-free 24/7 public washrooms, instances of public urination and defecation are slated to continue taking place in downtown Sudbury. Greater Sudbury City Council does not appear to be working toward fulfilling advocates' push to create barrier-free public washrooms in the city's downtown core. Sudbury.com reached out to all 13 members of City Council last week, but received responses from only 4 of them. Those few who did respond included Ward 7 Councillor Natalie Labby, no surprise there. Ward 4 Councillor Pauline Fortune. Ward 5 Councillor Mike Perrant, no surprise there as well. And Ward 6 Councillor Renee Lapierre. None of them pledged to work toward the creation of the downtown washroom facilities. Well, I remember I had a couple restaurants downtown, and bathroom was a great feature of my restaurant. Many people came in. More people came in to use the bathroom than came in to actually buy food, and a lot of times they left interesting things behind. Sometimes they did interesting artwork with interesting, unique, they used their own resources to make artwork all over the walls. So that was fun to clean up. And so eventually we had to say, unless you're a paying customer, you can't use the washroom. As much as we wanted to, provide a service for Greater Sudbury, it was hard. It was very hard as a small business owner to do that. And so many people were upset and mad and said things like, you don't care about people and things like that. And I was like, I do care about people. It's just that people abuse my washroom, which I have staff that then refuse to go in and clean it, and I end up having to go in and clean it. Sure, I like cleaning up artwork that you've used from your own natural resources. I love doing that, but I only have so much time in the day to be able to dedicate to that, right? So this is not a simple issue at all downtown. We need it, but at the same time, it's, So we've been following switching gears for a bit, we've been following not someone who is fired, I think that's who Dave was referring to, but somebody who's basically being told that he needs to take re-education on how to, yeah, and so Google had to redo its thing. So now the video that was all queued up is off. So you'll have to forgive me on this one. Just going to come in a little bit where I think it was, or it is. So Dr. Jordan Peterson talking about sticking up for free speech for himself and for the country and maybe even the world, and why it's important to do that. So we'll just take it from where I'll just take a shot in the dark here and just hope that it's somewhere where maybe we've seen a bit of this yesterday. Not too sure. But he's talking about the idea of the ideology, the Marxist point of view that's really got into our society. And then now this is the end result of it. Someone who has Marxist leanings does not necessarily like the idea of individuals. First of all, he makes that case, and individuals speaking for themselves. It has to be, you have to identify with a collective group somehow, whether it's the color of your skin, your gender identity, what political party you go for. It's all tribal. So they try and divide everybody up into groups. And unless you go along with that, you need to be canceled. You can't just think for yourself. So that's the ideology. That's where it's coming from. He's explaining that, but let's just hope, I don't know, we catch it. We haven't already seen this, but
then
if so,
break down
little review.
The representation of the people in the law firm by their identity categories. So how many men, how many women, how many transsexuals? But then you don't stop there, eh? And this is actually part of the technical problem with the approach. You divide them by race. You divide them by ethnicity. You divide them by sexual identity. Okay, so imagine there we've got 6 categories already, 6 or 7 categories. Now, of course, obviously race is further divisible, as is ethnicity, as are such things as attractiveness, right? So there's all sorts of ways of dividing people into groups axiomatically, and there's no self-evident way of determining which of those group divisions should be superordinate. And that's partly how the leftists, the radical leftists, can keep gerrymandering the game, because they can just keep playing games with the group categories. In any case, you take the organization, you take the bottom hierarchy and you say, the bottom rung, and you say, okay, well, is it 50% men and 50% women? And if the answer to that is no, then you make the claim that the reason for that is because of systemic oppression and prejudice. Oppression, prejudice, bigotry, and usually misogyny. Then you make the case that the people who are organizing the organization are bigoted and misogynist, even if it's not consciously, unconsciously, so that's the unconscious bias aspect. Then you put forward a plan that can include quotas, and increasingly will be, to ensure that that hierarchical level is now equal in proportional representation to the population itself. Now, of course, conveniently, you also get to determine which population you're going to compare it to, because that's one of the ways that you get to keep the power when you're doing this. You get to decide which groups people are going to be identified with, even though there's a near infinite number of ways people could be divided into groups, and you get to decide which population you're going to compare it to. So you can keep everybody unstable and off kilter permanently with that sort of approach. Well, then you go into the organization and you make anti-unconscious bias training, for which there is zero for the utility of which there is zero evidence for the utility of that intervention from a scientific perspective. In fact, some of the scientific evidence suggests that if you make unconscious bias training mandatory, you make prejudice worse. And maybe that's because people don't like to be called bigots and misogynists and to be put through retraining in a mandatory way. Okay, so then you do that in analysis at each rung of the organization. Now, you might say, well, why do you do that? Well, the putative reason is equity. Now, equity and equality of opportunity are not the same thing. If you hear someone utter the word equity, Either they don't know what they're talking about and they're ignorant beyond they're ignorant in a manner that makes it inappropriate for them to engage in a conversation about it, or they are the enemy of anyone who holds the tenets of individuality dear. Because equity means equality of outcome. And so the real postmodern radicals are using community to mean equity and equity to mean equality of outcome. And so then they get to divide up the groups into whatever groups they feel are the groups that people should be divided into now. And then they get to go make their claims of oppression and misogyny and bigotry and all of that. And one of the huge advantages that accrues to them in doing that, and since it's all about power, is power. And that's the game that's being played out. And that's happening unbelievably quickly. The equity issue is something it's absolutely unbelievable to me how rapidly people have started to talk about equity and to actually think that that's a reasonable goal. Now the alternative is to let people sort themselves out more or less in a free market manner, allowing for the possibility that there are genuine differences between people in intelligence, temperament, and interest, and the notion that those things differ and that a tremendous amount of that difference is a consequence of underlying biological reality is overwhelming. And the humanities types, the postmodernist types, they know they've lost the scientific battle over this. The whole idea that people are a blank slate and that everyone's equal at birth and that everything that makes people differ is a consequence of socialization, that bloody idea has been dead among anybody who's reasonably educated as a scientist. That's been dead since, I would say, mid-60s. Dead. It's not, no one even talks about it. But among these postmodernist types, man, they don't give a damn for facts. In fact, facts for them are merely whatever the current power hierarchy uses to justify their acquisition of power.
Okay, so actually I did a not bad job there. Kind of proud of myself. I almost got it right on where it needed to be at the video. So there you go. So he explains a little bit more of the understanding of what the definitions are that are being used, and what when people hear equity, diversity, and inclusion, you think certain things, but it's not what the postmodernists actually mean by them. And equality, being equal, we are all equal. We're all created equal. But to have equality of outcome, meaning we're all the first to win the race. That's, if you want to boil it down and oversimplify it, not everyone gets the red ribbon, right? So we're all equal. We have equal opportunity to do things. And again, not outcome though. Like, let's say I'm equal, but I want to put my effort into being the best horticulturist that I can be. And so I'm the best horticulturist, but someone else is the best bodybuilder, and that's what they want to be. But what if someone says, no, but the horticulturist has to be the bodybuilder too. You have to be just as good. Everyone's the same. Everyone's equal at everything all the time. That just, again, oversimplifying it in some ways, but that's the gist of it. We're not all equal in that way. It's not all equal outcome, right? So, but something that the powers that be, the people who think this way, or the people who want us to think this way. The people who want us to think this way don't actually think this way. They know how things really work, but they know it's a way of getting control of people. And so that's what's going on in our society. This is a means to an end. It's a way to get people to go along so that power, like that's all that's cared about with this ideology, is the power. Someone just ends up with all of it, like the Monopoly game, right? So that's what we see here with this new CBDC, ACDC, no, just CBDC, so central bank digital currency, and what it's all meaning to us as it comes to a theater near you. Redacted here.
Here's a question. Would you let someone implant a microchip into your hand if you would receive $2,000 a month in return for getting a chip put in your hand? You heard me right. We'll give you universal basic income, basically, 2,000 euros, $2,000 a month, if you allow us to put a microchip in your hand. That's exactly what's about to happen as part of the rollout of the central bank digital currencies. That's a carrot for them to rope you into this mess. We'll get to that part of the story in a minute, the chip implantation process, not the corn chip, as Dan said in our chat, but a actual metallic tracking chip. But a new report just published this week by the Bank for International Settlements explains how our new digital money system is about to work. We've been warning you that this was coming for a long time on this show. Also, we weren't the only ones predicting this. It was predicted in a little book, you might have heard of it, called The Bible, The Mark of the Beast. For one thing, this is how this new system would operate. According to them, the Bank for International Settlements, the new reserve currency, forget the dollar as you know it, basically. This will be the new reserve currency, which is how they want to label it and how they are labeling it. This would be used to settle all transactions. As everyone moves away from the US dollar right now, this seems like perfect timing to be moving to this new system. So are they purposefully torpedoing the US dollar in preparation for a global new reserve currency? One might wonder, right? We don't believe in conspiracy theories around here, but you have to wonder. It could include the confiscation of all property, physical property. By assigning it, every item would receive a real world. Every real world item would receive its own unique digital token. So, what do you guys think about this? Right, this idea that they could. I'm not saying they're going to, but your car, your house, all of these sort of physical items that need a token process, you have to get them digitally tokenized in order for you to claim ownership of these items. No more selling cars without a digital token, right? No black market of selling cars. They all have to be tokenized. They all have to have a digital tracking ID to know exactly who owns them through this, what they call this transparent process.
So it's like a blockchain for the world.
Right. I mean, it would be on the blockchain, right? Everyone would be given a tokenized digital ID. And I'll explain more about exactly the tokenization process in a moment. But basically, the idea that if you don't comply with this, then we're going to take your property and tokenize it ourselves is the idea. And they won't come out and say this, but that's exactly what some people are worried about, is that they would take your items, they would take your physical property and do it for you, or confiscate it altogether if you're not willing to comply. And think of it like contraband. It would be considered contraband. Imagine trying to go through the airport or airport security with that laptop that you didn't have tokenized, so there's no digital footprint of it. Oh, what is that? What is that item that you're carrying there? Why do you have that there? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have it registered with the government. I don't have a digital ID for that item? No worry, we'll take it off your hands. So your digital wallet, your car, your house, your laptop, your phone, all of it assigned a digital token. Inside those tokens would be a set of rules for how each item can and cannot be used, so that each person can be controlled and conditioned directly by the central bank. You've used your digital wallet to buy your allotment of beef or chicken this month, you're cut off. You're cut off. Your wallet is not limited. Your wallet is now limited until next month. And by the way, you think this is like a conspiracy theory. The Federal Reserve, literally on their website, loves and talks about the benefits of expiring currency, the expiration of currency. And hey, China's already doing it in part. So there's already limitations and expiration of currency. We already have this. And the Fed is openly talking about this on their website. Think this is a dream? Okay, just wait until it happens. Let's actually let them describe. So here is, after this Bank of International Settlements rolled this out last week, here is their tokenization process in their own words. Just watch sort of let me know if you think that this is creepy in any way. Watch.
Tokenization is more than just a digital representation of money and assets. It involves digital representation on a programmable platform, which means that tokens can incorporate the rules and logic governing transfers, as well as the information about the asset itself. Now, currently, money and other claims reside in separate databases that are connected through third-party messaging systems, meaning that transactions need to be reconciled separately before being settled with finality. Tokenization makes all this one seamless operation. Tokenization is well suited to resolve incentive and information problems. Think of an example where a buyer would like to pay when the goods are delivered, while the seller would like to deliver the goods when the buyer pays. Tokenization can solve this problem by executing both transactions at the same time.
So
two real-world applications.
So they talk about this. They talk about this tokenization as solving these problems, right? It involves the representing the ownership rights of real-world assets as digital tokens on a blockchain. In other words, you own a car, and that's confirmed because there's a digital token saying you do, and it's confirmed on the blockchain. You wouldn't need to go do title searches and all of your antiquated things like that when selling your car. It's already on the blockchain and confirmed that you own it. It's a digital certificate of authenticity. They'll sell it to us as a way to speed up the banking process, as he was just doing, as Hui Shin was just doing. Right now, there are 10 steps in order to wire money to someone. It's long, especially if you're not using your bank. Like if you're, doing a wire from like Bank of America to PNC Bank, there are multiple steps. Each bank needs to verify that you are in fact sending the money. They need to basically send a request. So now tokenization and CBDCs would wire money that can do this in one step, one verification process instead of 10 steps. So it sounds great. That's how they will sell it to us. It's easy. It's faster. But what if government controls the blockchain? And what if the main currency is a central bank digital currency run by the Fed? And you want to use Bitcoin? You want to use Dogecoin? You want to use cash? Sorry, that's outlawed now. You can't do that. Oh, you're using this illegal currency? Sorry, you're going to jail. We already see the move towards trying to get rid of digital currency that's not run by the federal government. They don't like Bitcoin. They absolutely don't like a lot of these other cryptocurrencies. Sorry, that's outlawed. You need to use America's digital currency or the EU's digital currency. That is controlled by a central power. You don't need to imagine it because it's already happening. But more importantly, it's all about the control. Buried towards the end of this report is this nugget on who would control these transactions. And again, this is why no one's covering this story, because it's nuanced and it takes time to explain this all. So you're just going to wind up one day with this thing in your wallet, a digital wallet, and no one's going to explain this to you. In this report, buried deep in this, like 40 pages deep, I stumbled across this. The governance section of a unified ledger could follow existing arrangements whereby central banks and regulated private participants take part in governance under established rules. For example, when money and payments are involved in a ledger, the central bank will necessarily play a role as the provider of the ultimate settlement asset. Its specific involvement in governance arrangements could take various forms, much as it does in the case of traditional payment systems, where public ownership, regulation, and oversight, as well as private mutual ownership, are viable options. So, in other words, the Fed will play a necessary role as the provider and the ultimate settlement decider in these transactions. So the central bank, of course, will control these transactions. And it means that it represents trillions of dollars in potential transactions of these governments. They stand to make a lot of money. And according to the report released just recently by the Global Financial Markets Association, this is the Boston Consulting Group and others, estimate as part of this report, look here on your screen, the value of tokenized illiquid assets will increase from roughly $0.3 trillion in 2022 to $16 trillion in transactions by 2030. That in 7 more years, we will jump up by almost $15.5 trillion in additional settlements. Richard Werner is an economist who is a World Economic Forum insider. Think of him as a whistleblower against these globalists. He was chosen by Klaus Schwab at the time as a global leader. Here he explains how the CBDC, or central bank digital currency, will start off on our phones as an app, but then move to something far more nefarious. An implant in your hand. Yes, a chip in your hand. Listen.
And what people don't mention is, what do these CBDCs actually look like? At the moment, there's a bit of talk about this being phone-based apps. And yes, that is the initial phase. But what was already ready around 2015 is the ultimate goal. What they really want, apparently, I was told by a central banker, is, CBDCs looks like a small grain of rice that they want to put under your skin, which is, in my view, a violation of human dignity. And they realize there is a hurdle. So to get people to accept this, there will be, why suddenly are the billionaires saying let's have universal basic income? Because the story is going to be, oh, now we've created this vast unemployment and disruption and crises. Well, we need universal basic income. You will get 2,000 euros into your account every month. But of course, to run this efficiently, we need to use the latest technology. So, you need the CBDC chip implant.
Okay. So you get this universal basic income.
Right. That's the carrot.
But you can't actually then make any more than that. That will be like, you have to have what everybody has then.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you make more money than that, or you probably have to qualify at a certain threshold. But, would you be willing to go along with, this is the question, and it's going to work.
I guess
There's
that's
gonna be
my
so many
extrapolation
people.
is like, the scary part is this becomes the Hunger Games. You just get your portion, right? And then you have no rights to anything above that.
And I think when, like we talked about it before, it's like it's going to target the poorest people because they're the ones going to be wanting to get on board with this because it's going to make life easier for them. It's like you get this stipend plus your income, and this is going to make it easier for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think this is going to work. Mm-hmm. This is how they will get people. We will put you on a universal basic income, and you will be given a certain set of parameters how you can use this income. And by the way, you're going to have to get a chip in your hand for tracking. That's how you will access it, right? And additionally, you will then you will be capped at certain purchases. Your carbon footprint will be tracked. What are you buying? Where are you going? And the idea, of course, that, this is only for purchases. We won't be able to track your physical location, your whereabouts. Really? Communication, how is it being tracked? Is it Bluetooth, near field communication? I just walk up and tap it against any kind of like a soda machine. We've already seen them rolling it out at different grocery stores. We see people in Sweden are jumping on board with this, wanting to use this on a regular basis. So there's people already electing to use this, wanting to use this. And they'll do this with the promise of basic income. $2,000 a month. Would you do it? Let us know in the chat if you would do that. This is not some fever dream, by the way. Where did this come from? This was explained in great detail by Klaus Schwab himself in 2016. Listen.
Aujourd'hui, au bout de ça, on parle de puces qu'on pourra s'implanter. Ce sera quand ça?
Certainement dans les 10 années à venir. Et d'abord, on va les implanter dans nos vêtements, c'est-à-dire wearables, comme on le dit. Et après, on pourrait s'imaginer qu'on les implante dans nos cerveaux ou dans notre peau. Et à la fin, peut-être il y a une communication directe entre notre cerveau et le monde digital. Ce que nous voyons, c'est une sorte de fusion du monde physique, digital et biologique.
Yeah.
Digital and biological.
What do you guys think? Am I the only one outraged by this? They want to inject this and to be able to control our monetary policy. I know this is a little hard for some people to swallow, but they are doing it, guys. I mean, this is what's coming out with this reserve currency. This will be, and I have to ask the question, I'll ask it again. Do you think they intentionally torpedoing the US dollar in favor of this currency? It makes it unattractive. And they want us to move away from cash to begin with. That's been the plan all along. But I mean, the writing is on the wall here, guys.
I don't know. This is the kind of thing that I want to sort of put aside and be like, no, until I cannot longer.
Until they're knocking at your door. We're here for your chip installation.
Right.
Natalie, where's your hand?
I guess I'm more prone to consider something like this after the pandemic, as a
reality.
As a reality.
It sounds so fantastical that like you would just like brush it off as being like that's just too crazy. But then again, like I don't think it is. I don't think it is.
Yeah, given what we've been through now, it seems so a little too transparent. And who was it that it was a singer who does these projects that sort of prepare us for futuristic endeavors, that does movie. You talked about this a long time ago. It was a lead singer from some band who does these fictional projects to prepare us for.
The guy from Blink 182 is what she was referring to. But so there you go. So get a chip in your hand, $2,000 in your digital bank account, and but with some provisions, or sorry, some boundaries of where you can spend the money and how you can spend it and when. So yeah, what do you think? Are you up for that? I mean, we've been hearing about this for quite some time, right? Universal income to kind of help out the poor people, make everybody, elevate all of again, the equity, the outcome, equal outcome instead of equal opportunity, right? So this is basic precept of the transitioning laws being installed in every government, for sure. In other words, the Great Reset, right? We'll have more on the Great Reset tomorrow and what that's all about and how this plays into it. It's a transition from shareholders to stakeholders. The Fourth Industrial Revolution, Klaus Schwab book, and what he sees going on here. Well, basically, it's his think tank, the WEF, that's been a forerunner with all of this stuff. And for those people who are francophone, would have definitely over the radio been able to hear what Klaus Schwab was saying. But tomorrow on the show, we'll just be able to translate that for everybody. So just a little insight on what's going to come. I've never heard this on CBC radio. If they were talking about it, they're going to talk about it more favorably, obviously, right? Like it's, hey, this is great. Everyone should get it. And that's what they're going to, propagate when it comes time. And they'll do it when they're supposed to say it, right? Kind of thing. When everyone's just supposed to go along with it. Because, again, they're just the arm of this to help roll things out and help government's goals be achieved. And that's great. I mean, like state-sponsored media, that's its thing to do. It is. That's its purpose. And yeah. So anyway, so to hear something a little different, little take on it before it happens, so that way you might be able to think about it and look into it a little bit. Think about what you're going to do when it comes out. If you're just going to stand in line with your hand out, say, hey, let's put this thing right in there. Burn it all down. That's what I wrote in my paper exactly, Stephen. That's what's going on with our society. So we can do what? Build back better. Burn it down so we can build back better, right? Have you heard that before? We'll have a little bit more on that tomorrow. And again, thanks for being on, Noel. It was great chatting with you yesterday. And thanks for being our YouTube commenter of the day. Much appreciated. So stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. It's too bad time flies on this show. It's amazing where an hour goes. It's like, what? It just seems like I just started the show. But thanks, everyone. I hope everyone has a really fantastic Tuesday. And we'll see you tomorrow. And we're not sure if we're going to have a show on Thursday. Definitely not having a show on Friday, as I'll be out of town. But I'll try to do my best to get the show on Thursday as well. So we'll see y'all same time, same place tomorrow, God willing. Have a great Tuesday, everyone. And we'll stay safe, as Dave would say, David. And we'll see you tomorrow. All right. Have a great one. And ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.